Hello again, Tori Kesicki here from Quantum Quest. And when I started this video, I wasn't sure what I was going to call it. I think I'm going to call it Manifesting 101. And I'm quite sure it's going to probably be a 2 or 3 part video. And the components that are in here are going to be new to you. Most of them, you've probably not heard of them before. I did a prior interview called Transdimensional just to give you sort of some background. I'd go look at that first so you'd have some understanding. But I'm going to cover it again. And I wasn't sure how I was going to present this particular video because there's a lot of ways to do it. Again, this type of subject matter could be a 2-day seminar. It could be an hour, or it could be an intensive book. So, my goal here is not to overwhelm and overload anybody, but to teach. And I don't know where you are in your studies for spiritual science or the quantum world, the physical world. So I try to keep things simple, and we'll progress as we go along. So please, when you comment on the videos, if things seem a little bit too much, let me know. And if they seem like you want more, let me know. So I'm going to start here by illustrating an individual, a man, a person, a human, a woman, living in a 3-dimensional world, which is our world, say Earth. And like I did in a previous video called Transdimensional, I illustrated this as double triangles. It's a human component. It's composed of basically 3 minds: conscious mind, unconscious mind, and the higher mind, or the higher self, or I call it the transdimensional mind. Now, when we talk about manifesting, and you've probably heard about manifesting from every show, from Oprah to The Secret to, it's been around forever. Really great books have been written on it all the way back to the 1800s. Think and Grow Rich was one of the first ones. So if you read those, The Secret, Law of Attraction, you're familiar with these concepts. But none of the concepts at all go into what the ideas that I'm presenting here, and you're going to be seeing them probably for the first time. They may be shared by other individuals, but I'm not so sure. But it's definitely core content in quantumquest.com. And today we'll just start with, we'll call it Manifesting 101. So I want to call this individual, we'll give him a name, we'll call him Tom. And Tom is an individual with 2 minds. He has a conscious mind and an unconscious mind. So just a brief overview. Your conscious mind is your thinking mind. It's where you make your quick decisions. It's where your thinking mind is. It's where your ego is, your personality comes from. Your unconscious mind, however, is sort of a depository of all the information that you've ever learned since the time you were born. For example, when you were learning to walk, the dexterity it took to balance so you didn't fall, to learn how to speak, to learn how to do everything that you do mobility-wise. Everything you've ever heard, everything you've ever smelled, everything you've ever seen is going into your unconscious mind, almost like a huge data bank or a gigantic hard drive. Now, we'll go into this area deeper in another lesson, but just understand that the unconscious mind holds probably 1,000,000 times more information at any given time than your thinking mind. Your thinking mind keeps in it what it needs really in the moment, and it resources your unconscious mind where you have stored memories, suppressed memories, things you don't want to remember, things you do want to remember. Everything pretty much lives in there. So when everybody else in the world up until now has talked about manifesting, they talk about taking the thinking mind and thinking about an object. Say I want to have a boat in my life, right? And you think about, I want a boat, I want a boat, I want a boat, and supposedly a boat comes along. Well, a boat doesn't come along. It doesn't work this way. Law of Attraction says, well, what you think about is attracted to you. Well, if you think about a boat, I assure you, I can guarantee you, it's not going to be attracted to you. How this really works is that there's a connection between the 3 minds. And where all manifesting takes place is in the transdimensional mind, which is in the 4th dimension. We live in the 3rd dimension. However, in order to communicate with the higher self or the higher mind, it needs to be done through the lower mind or the unconscious mind. So in Manifesting 101, what I'm going to tell you is that when we have a thought or an idea of something that we want in our life, we have to present that idea down to our unconscious mind, but we have to present that idea down to our unconscious mind in the form of an emotion or a feeling, not in the form of a thought. So let's take a look at how we would present an idea to the unconscious mind from the conscious thinking mind. I'm just going to flip the boards here. Still on Manifesting 101, but I want to sort of focus in on the concept of now the thinking mind, what it needs to do in order to present an idea to the unconscious mind. And the theory is here that the unconscious mind then presents the idea or coordinates the manifestation with the higher upper mind. So initially, we think that we want something in our lives, regardless of whatever it is. Let's say it's money, it's a better relationship, it's a boat. We've been using an example of a boat. So we set an expectation in our mind. We think about what it is that we want. Now, what's interesting about this is that unconsciously, your mind already knows what you want. So you're almost going through a silly motion of thinking, well, I want money, I want a new job, I want a better relationship, I want a new pair of sneakers. Well, you're sort of already thinking about that on an unconscious level. But just for the exercise, we're going to set the expectation, and you can actually write that down if you want. But as soon as you set the expectation, even if it's mental, it's pretty much set. Now, the second thing we need to do is we need to ask permission, because your entire life you're working as almost like two people. You have your conscious mind, your thinking mind, and you have your unconscious mind, who has all these thoughts and these memories and these suppressions, and a lot of times it has its own ideas and rules and regulations for how things work. So it's very few times in our life that we get some clarity between the conscious and the unconscious mind. So for example, I feel that I want a better job, I want more money, I want a better relationship. So when was the last time you really sort of talked to yourself and said to yourself, you know, I really want a better relationship, I really want to make more money, I really want a better job. Now, your unconscious mind is, we consider it our inner child, because it's been developed by the time we're basically by the age of 6. So if you literally start talking to your unconscious mind almost as if it's a child and say, like I'm having a conversation with a young child. Imagine having a conversation with a young child and said, you know, you and I really never talked about this. I think about it, but we never really talked about it. I really think it would be great to have more money in my life. And you can write it down, or you just keep a mental tab of it. I really like to have better relationship. I'd really like to be able to have more free time. And in that conversation, it's like, if I had more free time, what would that mean to me? What would I be able to do? What assets would I get out of more free time? What would I get out of a better relationship? How would I feel? How would the other person feel? What would I do with more money, realistically? Would I donate it? Would I keep it? Would I save it? Would I use it to be able to have more free time? And this may sound silly, but you're really sort of having a conversation with yourself. And listen, it's okay to talk to yourself. People sing in the shower all the time, right? So do it in the shower, nobody hear you. But have that conversation with yourself, and think of that child, that unconscious mind, as that inner child who may have its own ideas about maybe money is no good, you know, because when you grew up, you know, dad says money is evil, and your mom said, you know, people who have money are bad. Well, your unconscious mind stores those type of memories. So unless you're kind of reaffirm that, you know what, money is good, and having a great relationship is good, because maybe the unconscious mind said, well, mom and dad were always fighting, and Uncle Louie and Aunt Jerry fighting, and the kids are always fighting. You know, relationships are bad. So let's just clear that out of the way initially by talking to it. And maybe even, you know, I've had clients get down on their knees on the same level as a child and talk to themselves in a mirror and said, listen, this is why I'd like more money. This is what I think it would mean to me. This is what's good about it. Yeah, there are some bad things. This is what's great about a relationship, but whatever it is, but spend some time there, because this is really important. And this is the part where the secret and everybody else, I'm telling you, lose it at this point. Because if you don't communicate your wishes, desires, and dreams to your unconscious mind, you're not going to get anywhere. So from this point now, you set an expectation, you have that communication with the unconscious mind as to what it is that you want. Now we have to get into state. Now, I was going to do a separate video on how to get into state, but I found an amazing website, and it's called www, I'm going to spell it for you, .wikIHOW/DO-PRANAYAM. It's WikiHow. It's a cool site. There's a lot of things on WikiHow. It's like a how-to site. WikiHow/do pranayama. And pranayama, and we call it prana for short, is called prana breathing. And prana breathing is used by the yogis. It's used by people who meditate, deep meditation. And what it does is it raises your vibrational frequency. And raising your vibrational frequency is one of the key, I can't impress upon you more. This is the key component to manifesting. Now, people will talk about raising your vibrational frequency, but they don't tell you how, okay? This is how. And if there's nothing else you do, and you just don't do any of this, go and learn how to do prana breathing. And I would suggest, before you even attempt manifesting, to practice the prana breathing probably 4 or 5 times, because the way it works is, I'll demonstrate it for you really quickly, but the website will take you all the way through it. It's a deep inhale and deep exhale through the nose, filling the diaphragm, completely emptying the diaphragm, and it's done quickly like this. Now you'll do this, and initially it's going to be laborsome. It's going to feel like you're really trying hard to do it, and you may feel like you've got cold air coming in and out of your nose. Keep with it, and this is why it's important to do this several days, maybe 5 minutes the first day, 10 minutes the second day. When I do a prana session, I do it sometimes for almost an hour. And what you'll learn that's going to happen is, after maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and it happens quicker and quicker, your unconscious mind will pick up the breathing for you. And now you'll be sort of auto breathing. So you won't be physically anymore, but your unconscious mind will pick up that form of breath, and it'll keep you. So now you all of a sudden you're just breathing like you breathe normally, but you're breathing in that prana form. And what that prana breathing is going to do for you is it's going to raise your vibrational frequency. And the more you do it, the more you'll understand. You'll start to feel tingling in your fingers. You'll start tingling in your arms. Eventually you start feeling in your eyebrows, your head. And once you start getting really good at it, your entire body will be vibrating, and it's going to be the craziest feeling you've ever felt in your life. This is where your vibrational frequency really becomes high, and you're now you're in state. So to recap, manifesting 101, set the expectation. What do I want? List it out. Talk to the unconscious mind as a child. Tell it why, tell it what's good about it, what's bad about it, like you're having a conversation. Go to the wiki site, learn how to do the prana breathing, practice it 4 or 5 or 6 times. When you're ready to do that, you go through this process, you start the prana breathing, and then I'm going to switch to another board in a second. Actually, I'm going to cut the video off. I'm going to call that part 2, but you're going to feel your desires, because you already set expectation. You've already asked permission, so now you no longer need to say, I want money, I want a relationship, I want a boat. You start to feel what it feels like to have those things. Think about yourself on that boat with that money. What does that feel like? Be in the moment in that relationship. What does that relationship feel like? See, the unconscious mind takes care of all the rest. You don't have to keep repeating what it is that you want. The emotional mind is what's going to do the job for you. So I'm going to switch to the next slide now. So come back and meet me in a moment in part 2 of Manifesting 101. Thanks.